Have you ever felt like you are running a race with no finish line? You wake up at 6 a.m., open Slack before your feet hit the floor, sift through the 117 emails the average knowledge worker now receives in a day, Microsoft's 2025 Work Trend Index, and answer pings between back-to-back video calls. You hit the targets, ship the deliverables, and check every box the algorithm rewards. Maybe you have already reached the summit. The title is on your LinkedIn. The comp package is generous. The followers know your name. And yet, in the quiet moments between the last meeting in bed, you find yourself staring at the ceiling, wondering why it all feels so hollow. The numbers say you are not alone. Gallup's most recent State of the Global Workplace report finds that only 20% of employees worldwide are engaged at work. About half are scanning for a new job. Lost productivity from disengagement now costs the global economy roughly $9.6 trillion a year, the equivalent of 9% of global GDP. We invented quiet quitting coffee badging and polyworking because we needed words for what so many of us were already doing. As a behavioral strategist, I see this silent struggle in every conference room and every Zoom grid. We live our lives based on what we think we know. We assume that if we just gather more data, refine the funnel, or grind a few more hours, we will finally find the spark. But assumptions, even ones built on dashboards full of metrics, can lead us off a cliff. Consider this. I am thinking of a charismatic founder in his early 30s, Stanford educated, vegan, a vocal philanthropist who pledged to give away most of his fortune, featured on the cover of Fortune, met with senators, hosted in glossy Super Bowl commercials with A-list celebrities. Most people hearing that profile would picture a Silicon Valley hero like Patrick Collison or a young Toby Luckey. Add one detail. The company is FTX, and the picture inverts. I am describing Sam Bankman-Fried, who in 2024 was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for one of the largest financial frauds in American history. Tom Brady walked away with roughly $30 million in now worthless stock. Larry David's "Don't Be Like Larry" Super Bowl ad ran, while customer funds were quietly being moved out the back door. We bet our careers, our companies, and our health on perceived truths. But have you ever wondered why some people and organizations keep an invisible spark alive while others, better funded, better staffed, better credentialed, simply burn out? The answer is not in their results. It is in their design. To understand the structural failure of modern professional life, look at how we build. There's a story, often told and probably embellished, about American executives touring a Japanese assembly line in the 1980s. Back home, they were used to seeing a worker at the end of the line tap the edges of every car door with a rubber mallet to make sure it's sealed. In Japan, that station did not exist. When the visitors asked when the Japanese workers checked the door fit, the guide smiled and said, "We make sure it fits when we design it." Most of us are living mallet lives. When the quarter goes sideways, we reach for the mallet, a flurry of short-term fixes meant to force the pieces together. We slash prices. We launch a flash sale. We crank up the urgency. Last chance, limited spots, ends tonight. We push our teams to grind harder. We hammer at the outcome and ignore that the structure was never engineered to hold up in the first place. If you are tired of hammering, it is time to stop staring at the result and start looking at the biology of the design. This is not a management trick. It is hardwired into your hardware. This brings us to a simple model called the golden circle. 3 layers: what, how, and why. Every person on this planet knows what they do, the tasks, the products, the title under their name. Some can articulate how they do it, the process, the differentiator, the methodology that is slightly different from the competition. Almost no one can clearly state why they do it. By why, I do not mean to make a profit. Profit is a result. I mean, what is the cause? What is the belief? Why does your organization exist on a Tuesday morning when no one is watching? Why did you actually get out of bed today? And why should anyone care? This is not just a communication hierarchy. It maps onto the physical evolution of the human brain. You're what lives in the neocortex, the newest layer, responsible for rational thought, language, and analysis. Your how and why live in the limbic system, the older layer, responsible for behavior, decision-making, trust, and loyalty. The catch: the limbic brain has no capacity for language. That is why gut feelings feel so right and are so hard to explain. When you feel a deep pull toward a brand, a leader, or a cause, you are communicating directly with the part of the brain that drives behavior. Force people to decide using only the rational neocortex, and they overthink, second guess, and produce slower, lower quality choices. Limbic decisions are faster, and more often than not, better. Look at the modern platform wars. When Meta launched Threads in 2023, it had every advantage. Instagram's distribution, Mark Zuckerberg's wallet, billions of accounts ready to port over. The what was clear: a Twitter alternative with familiar UX. Adoption spiked, then sagged. Smaller competitors like Blue Sky led with the why: decentralization, user ownership, and escape from algorithmic capture. Smaller audience, but a more loyal one. People did not buy what Blue Sky was building. They bought why. You can run the same comparison across markets. SpaceX next to legacy aerospace. Tesla next to incumbents who had a century of engineering experience and still missed the EV transition. Notion next to the older productivity giants. Anthropic and OpenAI carving out distinct cultures around different beliefs about AI safety. People do not buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And when our why is fuzzy, we fall back on the only other thing we know: manipulation. In the absence of a clear why, we lean on carrots and sticks. In business and in life, there are 6 common forms of manipulation: price, promotions, fear, aspirations, peer pressure, and novelty. They all work. That is the danger. They drive transactions and destroy loyalty. Take the price game. For a seller, dropping price is like a hit of something addictive. The short-term spike is fantastic. The next time you need a bump, you have to drop further. You become a commodity. Look at the EV price wars of 2023 to 2025. Tesla cut prices repeatedly. Chinese manufacturers undercut on the global stage, and the legacy brands try to follow. Margins compress across the board, and customers learn to wait for the next discount instead of buying on belief. The same pattern played out as Temu and Shine hollowed out fast fashion. Customers do not love the brand, they love the deal. The day the deal disappears, so do they. Promotions have their own version of the trap. Retailers and apps still rely on what the industry quietly calls breakage. The percentage of users who never redeem the cashback, never claim the rebate, never use the credit. The friction is not a bug. It is the feature, a tax on the disorganized. Fear is a powerful one. The old line was, "No one ever got fired for buying IBM." The 2026 version is, "No one ever got fired for buying Microsoft Copilot, or for choosing the most hyped AI vendor on brand alone." Fear of being wrong drives a remarkable number of multi-million-dollar enterprise decisions. Aspirations, too. Every January, gym memberships spike around 12%, and attendance collapses by March. People bought a 6-month contract when they needed a why. The same dynamic now plays out in self-improvement courses, productivity apps, and AI tools that promise to transform your life by next Friday. And peer pressure. Tag Heuer once advertised a Tiger Woods watch certified to withstand 5,000 G of force, a level experienced by the golf ball, not the golfer. The 2026 update is Messier. FTX paid an estimated $11 billion worth of brand ambassadors, including Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Stephen Curry, Larry David, Shaquille O'Neal, and the Golden State Warriors, to lend their faces to a platform most of them likely never use in any depth. When the company collapsed in November 2022, customers lost roughly $11 billion. The celebrities lost their reputations and, in some cases, are still in court. The lesson is the same one Tag Heuer's ad missed. We are not selling expertise. We are selling association. The cost of all this manipulation is not just financial. It is physical. Behavioral specialist Peter Wybrow argued in American Mania that the constant pressure of carrots and sticks overloads our reward circuits. Modern data backs him up. Gallup's 2025 numbers show stress, anger, and sadness above pre-pandemic levels, with around 28% of workers reporting outright burnout in their current job. Ulcers, hypertension, and anxiety are systemic byproducts of a Watt-based life. To see the alternative, we look at builders. In 1903, Samuel Pierpont Langley had the recipe for success. Senior officer at the Smithsonian, a $50,000 grant from the War Department, a fortune at the time, a dream team of credentialed engineers. The New York Times followed him everywhere. He was motivated by the what. He wanted to be the first man to fly, and to be celebrated for it. A few hundred miles away, two brothers ran a bicycle shop. No grants, no credentials, no team. But they were inspired by a why, the belief that flight would change human civilization. They drove to Kitty Hawk with 5 sets of parts because they knew failure was the path to flight. On December 17, 1903, they took off. When Langley heard the news, he quit. He was not there for the flight. He was there for the fame. Today's version of that story is being written in real time. Look at SpaceX next to Boeing. Boeing has a century of history, deep government relationships, and a workforce many times larger. SpaceX started with a stated why: make humanity a multiplanetary species, and work backward. The result: Boeing's Starliner has spent years stuck on the launch pad, while SpaceX runs flight after flight, learning publicly from each failure. Same physics, different design. If you want to build something that lasts, you have to move from a job to a calling. 2 stonemasons. You ask the first if he likes his work. He tells you about the heat, the heavy stones, the supervisor, the wage. It is just a job that pays the bills. You ask the second man the same question, and he says, I love my job. I'm building a cathedral. The what is identical. Both are moving heavy stones in the sun. The second man has a sense of purpose. To build your cathedral, you need 3 things working together: clarity of why, discipline of how, and consistency of what. Authenticity shows up when those 3 align, when everything you say and do is evidence of what you actually believe. This changes how you find your tribe. Most people hire on resumes. The late Herb Kelleher of Southwest Airlines had a different rule: hire for attitude, train for skills. The data agrees with him. Gallup attributes about 70% of the variance in team engagement directly to the manager. Pick the wrong people for the wrong reasons, and no compensation plan will save the team. Consider Patagonia. In September 2022, founder Yvon Chouinard transferred ownership of the entire $3 billion company into a trust and a nonprofit dedicated to fighting the climate crisis. Earth, he wrote, is now our only shareholder. 3 years on, the company has redirected an additional $180 million to environmental work. Patagonia did not invent the idea of a purpose-driven company. It just lived its purpose long enough that the purpose became unfakeable. People who want to work there are not chasing the title. They are showing up to prove what they believe. Or remember the ad Ernest Shackleton allegedly posted to recruit his Antarctic crew. Men wanted for hazardous journey. Small wages, bitter cold. Long months of complete darkness. Constant danger. Safe return doubtful. Honor and recognition in case of success. He was not looking for sailors. He was looking for believers. When you hire people who believe what you believe, they do not work for you. They work for themselves. This is, in the end, about more than business. It is about how we lead. On a hot August day in 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington, D.C. They did not show up for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They showed up for themselves. Dr. King had no website, numbered 12-point legislative plan, no targeted ad spend. He had a gift. He told people what he believed. He did not give the "I have a plan" speech. He gave the "I have a dream" speech. He offered a future that did not yet exist because he was clear about the why. People across the country, about a quarter of them white, saw the dream as their own. They did not show up for him. They showed up to prove what they believed. You can see the same pattern today. Movements that organize around a clear why attract committed people. Movements that organize around a what attract spectators. The leaders who endure are the ones still pointing in the same direction 5 years later, even when the news cycle has moved on 3 times. We follow those who lead not because we have to, but because we want to. Starting with why is a lifelong discipline. It is the ability to stay focused on your cause while the what gets complicated. Think of it as a celery test for your life, making sure that everything you put in your basket reflects who you are and what you believe, so that when someone looks at the card of your career, they don't see a pile of unrelated tactics. They see a coherent person. I hope to inspire you to do things that inspire you, because when more of us start with why, we move closer to a world where the Gallup engagement number is not 20%. We move toward workplaces where people go home tired in the right way. The way you are tired after building something you actually believed in. Progress is better than perfection. And it all starts with one simple internal question. The goal is not to do business with everyone who wants what you have. The goal is to find the ones who believe what you believe. Because when we start from the inside out, we don't just change our results. We change the world.